So we just arrived in Hanoi, and this is one of the first things you need to figure out in the city, how to cross the street.
We spent almost 1 month in Hanoi and we did a bunch of things, including all the touristic stuff, but we also visited a lot of places that basically most of the locals go and quite hidden actually. So in this video we put together a summary of the best things to do in Hanoi. We organized this video in a way that you can do everything we recommend here in 2-3 days, because that's what most people do when they come to Hanoi. So hope you enjoy it and hope this helps to plan your trip.
Okay, so we're walking right now towards the old quarter, and for purposes of filming, we decided to go to like a small, calm street, and you can still see so many motorbikes going around.
Honestly, the traffic here is insanely chaotic.
Yeah, it is.
But it's part of the experience. You need to learn how to cross the street and everything. The first couple of times were
A bit tricky.
hard. But now we're used to it. You see, we're walking in the street like everyone else. Like there's people on bikes and selling stuff and everything.
There's a lot of sidewalks, but sidewalks are not meant for walking on them. They are meant as parking. So yeah, you need to walk.
So we're gonna show you around the old quarter today.
Yes, let's go.
So we are now in the old quarter. We're right on the edge of it where it meets the Homkiam Lake. The one thing to understand about the old quarter is that basically it's the old town, but it's not where the attractions are. It's a good location to stay and to eat because there's a lot of restaurants, a lot of hotels, like a lot of bars, nightlife, and etc. So it's really well structured for that, but it's not where the main attractions that you will want to see are. So you can be based here and then go around to see the other things. There are a few things to see around here. So first one is the Bakma Temple, which is right in the middle of the old quarter. Here around the corner, as we said, we're at the Homkiam Lake, and there's also a pagoda in the middle, which is worth a visit. And there's also the Tran Street, which is just on the edge of the old quarter. And it's also really good on the weekends because it's closed off for pedestrians. So there's like a really, really good vibe. There's a market in the street. There's a lot of people just walking around and like live music in the street and selling food and etc. So it's like really, really, really nice. The main thing that attracts people to the old quarter, which we highly recommend experiencing, even if you're staying somewhere else like we are, is the nightlife. This is the place to enjoy, and it's basically the social hotspot. It's where all the main bars are, and it's where people put these little chairs in the street, sell beer and everything. One of the main spots is actually called the Beer Street, and we actually went there in the evening, so we're gonna show you how it went.
We are right now in Via Corner, or Beer Street in Hanoi, and this is like crazy loud, lively street that if you're a beer lover, you must come and visit it. And honestly, this is one of the cheapest beer we are having in our whole trip throughout Asia. Right now we are paying for this about 30,000 Vietnamese dong, which is essentially around €1. However, if you come to this street, you should pay attention where you sit, because in this area where you can see right now that we are sitting on these small plastic chairs, the beer is going to be €1. You walk into the next street full of bars, you're going to be paying the premium tourist price, and which is also completely fine. It's still probably cheaper than anywhere in Europe. It has probably a little bit more structure, but if you want a cheap beer, look for the plastic chairs and tables and sit here.
We are now walking to the place that is probably the biggest tourist attraction here in Hanoi, which is the Tran Street. I bet you've probably seen pictures or videos of it online. It's like this street where the train passes in the middle of bars and where everyone is. And it's one of those things that honestly sounds fun, but also too touristic. So it kind of could be a tourist trap. So we obviously check it out, but let's see how it's gonna be. So we just watched the train go by. It literally passed like 5-10 minutes ago, so that's why everyone is leaving right now. And it's actually really cool. It is quite touristic, but it's kind of a fun experience. So this is how it works. The street behind me has, as you can see, bars on both sides, and the best thing to do is actually come here like 20 to 30 minutes before the schedule of the train comes, so you can have some time to figure out a place to sit, because you do want to sit on one of the spots to watch the train go by. You can't just be like really walking around. And then when the train's about to come, they ring like some alarm, and then everyone starts pulling the tables and additional chairs out, and then the train comes and passes. Basically, it's like it really comes very close, but it's quite slow, so it's like not dangerous or anything, but it's quite a cool and fun experience. We are now visiting the Ho Chi Minh Mausoleum here in Hanoi, which is right behind me. And as the name suggests, it's basically a mausoleum. It's where Ho Chi Minh, the famous president of Vietnam, is actually embalmed and resting in there. So they built this whole structure in his honor. And this attraction is actually a whole complex around the mausoleum. And you can actually visit and go inside it. But the rules to visit it are actually quite strict, and the information online is a little bit shady. We actually had some trouble figuring things out. So let me explain to you how this works. The whole complex has one single entrance. We're gonna tag it on the map for you. And if you don't get to it, basically you need to walk around because you cannot enter from the other points, even though it's like this really big square. The entry is very well protected, and not only that, you have to go through security. They scan your bag. You need to leave the bag. If you have a big bag, you need to leave it there. They take the cameras away, so it's really like a whole process. And you need to be careful about what you're wearing because you need to cover the shoulders and the knees, and also closed shoes. But it is free entry. The main entrance is open from 7:30 to 11:30. We got here around 10 a.m. on the line. There was quite a big line, but it moves fairly quick. It's just that the process is so lengthy that it took us around 30 minutes to get to the actual mausoleum. So you go through security, and then there's a guard that accompanies the group throughout the whole path that you need to take on. And then when you go actually inside the mausoleum, it's basically a 2-people line all the time, and you just go around it. And there's guards all the time. You cannot take your phone whatsoever. And you are in there for less than a minute because it's like non-stop line. So you just literally go around the tomb. A bit underwhelming, I think, at least for us. That's not what we expected. So I think it's something to see if you are interested in history and also architecture. I think this is a great example of the communist type of architecture. But if those are not your type of things, honestly, this will take you quite some time, and I don't think it's that worth it because it goes really quick, literally. Once you exit the crypt, you can actually roam around a little bit more free within the designated areas, of course. Then you can go in front, you can photograph it from outside, and then afterwards, inside the complex, you can also visit the presidential palace, which is actually really nice. I do recommend. This part is paid. We paid 40,000 Vietnamese dong per person, which is a little bit more than €1 right now. You can go around the complex. You can see the presidential palace. You can see the little lake. They even have the signs that it was like the garage from Uncle Ho and everything. So it's a cool part. I do recommend going into it. After you exit the presidential palace, there's still 2 more attractions, and these ones are free. So even if you don't want to go to the presidential palace, you can still visit these 2. The first one is the 1-pillar pagoda. It's a little temple. It was built in the year 1079, so it's quite old. And the whole complex was built around it, but it was kept untouched. And basically there's 2 small temples and the pagoda, which has a temple on the top. It's really nice to visit. You, again, need to be covered properly to do so. And then after that, you have this one last attraction, which is the Ho Chi Minh Museum. We did not have enough time to do that because, as I said, we arrived at 10. By the time we visited all of this, it was already 12. And that's the time where the luggage storage closes. So we need to make our way in the end. So if you want to visit the museum, make sure you come earlier on, so that you have enough time to do all of that. You can also visit it after the 11:30 mark. The main entrance was already closed by the time we exited at around noon, but there was another entrance that was a lot of people in there waiting, and we see them now inside, except that they cannot go inside the mausoleum. They just go on this outside part to take pictures from outside. So if you want to go in, make sure you come in the morning time. Now, besides the complex of the mausoleum, which is really, really big, around it there are also a bunch of other government buildings, including this one behind me, which is the National Assembly of Vietnam. And there's also a bunch of others. For example, the headquarters of the Communist Party is just over there. Then you have the Vietnam government office, which is also around here. So walking around here, you really get the feeling that Hanoi is really like the government capital of Vietnam. For the afternoon, we did a free walking tour, and the first place we visited was the Quoc Pagoda. This place is located in the West Lake, and the entrance is free. It was pretty cool to have a guide here because she explained us everything about how the pagodas work and all the symbolism. This is a special one because it's the oldest pagoda in Hanoi, being built over 1,500 years ago. In the end, I was even interviewed by some local students that needed to practice English for school. We are here at the Temple of Literature, which is the first university in Vietnam. It's also one of the main attractions in Hanoi, but nowadays it's not a functioning university anymore. It used to be until the French occupation, when they moved the capital to Hue, and then this stopped being a university. However, if you come today, it's still a temple. There are 4 different courtyards and a few different temples that you can visit inside here. The main one is the Temple of Confucius, but there are also other temples, for example, the Temple of the Three Kings, which honors the 3 Vietnamese kings that contributed the most for this temple and the university in general. So there's actually a really big area to visit. This place is about 30 minutes walking from the old quarter, so you can come walking or you can get a transport. The entrance here is paid. We paid 70 Vietnam dong per person to enter, and then the complex is actually quite big. You can visit everything with this ticket. And one thing to know that it was actually kind of curious. Today is a Saturday, and during the whole visit on all of the courtyards, there's so many students here because they come here to take pictures for their graduation. So they're actually dressed up with the graduation gown and everything, which is actually kind of interesting. We came here with the tour guide, and she told us that this is associated with graduation of all different levels, so from school, high school, and everything. We took around 1 hour to visit the whole complex. You can do it at your own pace, and then in the end there's actually something really curious because they have the little, I don't know, structures, I don't even know how to call them, that they used to use for the tests. So here, since it was a university, they had 3 levels of tests. The same way as nowadays we have master's, doctorate, PhD, they also had like 3 different levels, and it was a really big deal. We were told that for any type of exam, there was like 10,000 candidates and only 3 of them actually passed the exam. So it was really, really hard. And this is how it actually worked. So each of these was a test taker place. And they went inside, and it's insane because we were told that the exam takes the entire day, and it looks so uncomfortable. Look at this, and it's tiny, and like they would have the paper here, like it's honestly crazy, but I guess it's completely proof of cheating or anything. So that was a cool way to end the visit. I'm definitely very glad I did not live here in that time because I cannot fit in that thing. But we're now gonna go grab a coffee or something because we are very tired from the day. So let's get going.
We said it's time for coffee. We are in Café Giang, and this is supposed to be an origin of egg coffee here in Vietnam. So story time. We are used to having coffee with, I would say, normal milk for us, right? But what they do here is they don't put the normal milk in the coffee, they use condensed milk. And back in the time, I believe it was around the World War II, they ran out of condensed milk. They could not get condensed milk in the country. So the owner, the founder of this place, actually figured out if he takes some egg, adds sugar, makes a batter out of it, beats it, and puts it in the coffee, it will act as condensed milk, so it will sweeten up the coffee. So that's how the egg coffee became to exist. So obviously we already tried the egg coffee before coming to this place, and in this other place we've been, the owner was actually really expert in coffee, and he showed us how to do it. And you're not supposed to mix it, you're not supposed just to drink it, but you should take your spoon and then scoop coffee with the egg batter and have it all together. This is actually delicious. It's really good. And Hanoi is very well known for its coffee scene, and if you are here, make sure to explore it. Like, there are a lot of different coffee places around the city center or the old quarter, but if you go out towards the West Lake especially, you will see so much more, and they are beautiful, like really nice places with really specialty coffees, so be sure to explore that. And another thing is, like in Europe, we are used to having cappuccino, coffee with milk, black coffee, and so on. Here they have so many different variations. We have egg coffee, condensed milk coffee, salted coffee, coconut coffee, so many different variations. If you're staying in Hanoi, especially if you're staying for a bit longer, take time, go out, discover different spots. Another thing that I can tell you is there are a lot of hidden coffee places, which essentially are a tiny little passage between the buildings that feels like you're entering into somebody's house. But if there's a pin and it says that it's a coffee place, just follow through. I bet that there is going to be actual coffee place at the end of the little hallway. So yeah, that's it about the coffee. So now let's enjoy. As we are traveling around Vietnam, we are marking all of the spots that we visited on our Google Maps. And if you would like to get that map for free, you can check the link in the description and we will send it to you. We just came out of Hanoi Hilton, but probably not the one that you have in your mind right now, but that's actually a second name for Hoa Lo Prison, that's right behind me. And it also goes by another name, Maison Centrale. So if you're reading about any of these three names, they're all talking about the same thing. So this is the central prison here in Hanoi, and it was established during the French governance here. We came to visit it because we read a lot about it, everybody recommends it. So how it works is, at the entrance you buy your ticket, which is 50,000 dong per person. That's essentially a little bit more than €1.50, which I would say is pretty affordable. You also then have an option to buy the audio guide for 100,000 dong, which would roughly translate into €3 and a little bit. So you get the guide, and then you continue your walk through the museum to learn about the history of Vietnam and this prison. So if you're interested in history, it's really worth to visit this place because it's a great way to learn about different stages that Vietnam went through and also about different reasons that people were imprisoned here. So we visited now in November of 2025, and the museum is undergoing the renovation, which means that big part of it is closed off and a lot of different sections were added to one single room, which essentially for us that we had the audio guide meant that we spent more than half an hour in one room listening to different parts of the exhibition without actually seeing that much. And that did not feel really interesting or engaging, so it's really hard for me to say it's a must-see. But on the other hand, it also does give you a lot of information on how the prison operated, about the history of Vietnam and so on. So yeah, I don't know how it is when it's not in the renovation, how it looks like when all of the spaces are opened, but right now for us it was like, yeah, sure, we are not regretting that we visited, but would not come back again for the same experience. So it's almost sunset time and we decided to come explore the French Quarter here in Hanoi, and we found ourselves on the crossroad at Trang Thien Plaza, which is essentially a shopping mall here behind me. And on Sundays, this whole area gets closed off for traffic and becomes this amazing, lively walkway for locals that just come to enjoy their evening. There's also a lot of families with kids riding on the tricycles and electric little cars. You also have right next to it lake, which it's really nice to walk around and also enjoy it. Some temples around it. But if you're in Hanoi on Sunday, this is a great way to end your day. We just arrived here, so we're gonna now walk around and, well, blend with locals. So when it comes to food in Vietnam, there's a lot to be said about, but there's not one single guide that will not recommend this place behind me, and this is Banh Mi 25, and it's supposed to be very special. Now, we went around, we tried a couple of other banh mis before, and then we came here just for the sake of comparing it, and I'm really curious, is it really that worth it? Should it really be on the every single guide there is about Hanoi? So let's see, let's try it out. Okay, so how this works is you come to the line from one side and somebody will bring you the menu to check out while you are waiting, and you will always be waiting because this place is constantly busy. And then once you order, you will pay. I think they only had cash. And you get your number, go on the other side and wait there to get your food. They also have a couple of seating spaces, but most likely they're going to be super busy. We waited like 15 minutes to get our banh mis. So yeah, let's see what the fuss is all about. Oh, it is really good. I said before that we went to a couple of other ones to try it out, so we know how to compare. And honestly, yeah, if you want to try banh mi, I think this is really good place to try it out. It tastes. Okay, so we just had our euro-and-a-half banh mi, which was pretty good actually. Definitely way better than the ones we had before, as I said. When it comes to food, banh mi is definitely not the only thing you should try around here. Obviously, everybody knows about pho. One thing that I would also recommend is bun cha. And one great tip that I can give you is go out of the old quarter, go out of the city center and pay attention to these little mom and pop restaurants that are essentially somebody's home, and they open it up, put out the plastic chairs and plastic tables on the street and serve you food, and they usually only have like a couple of dishes that they cook. And they get really specialized in it, and they are amazing. We had a couple of them. They're super cheap. We paid 3 euros for 2 main dishes and 2 drinks, which honestly I think it's amazing, and it was one of the most delicious dinners we had. But also on the other hand, you have a lot of Michelin recommendations here that are, compared to Europe, very, very affordable. So yeah, also if you have enough time, don't miss out on that. One thing I forgot to mention before when it comes to food, we usually rely on Google Maps and Google Map reviews. Around here, in almost every restaurant, they're gonna ask you to take a review. And then what happens, you have restaurants with 7, 8, 900 reviews, and their average score is 5.0. So just an advice, don't just rely on the average score because they can be misleading. Actually go in and read the reviews. The ones that are usually kind of, let's say, forced are, in my opinion, the ones that mention a person serving them, because at least I never do that. Like if I give a review, I will give a review about the taste, about the atmosphere, about the whole team, not about a specific person. So yeah, pay attention to that.
As you can see, we're walking through Hanoi, which is complete chaos. I hope you can hear me with all the traffic around me. But so we're gonna wrap this one up here, and make sure you like and subscribe, and tune in next week. We have a new video coming up every Sunday, and we have some upcoming trips in Vietnam. So yeah, see you on the next week. Bye.